I think the whole game goes down the.
Exactly. It's just that there's speech in the thing, and that makes it too repetitive.
All right. Okay, let's begin.
Yeah.
Good afternoon, folks. Welcome to Smudcast number 742, Mecha and the male fantasy. Let's just say there is a direct correlation between some male fantasy and giant robots. That's neither good nor bad. It's essentially neutral, and any fantasy, whether male or female, expressed in media should be embraced as, hey, this is part of our psyche. This is part of our raison d'etre of living. Let's have it that way and appreciate it for what it's worth. I'm sure there's some positives and some negatives equally to talk about. And if this gentleman, Mr. the Bellman, I've never covered his videos before, has something to say critically, great. We could learn about our condition. We could figure that if that's just a male thing or a female thing. Maybe there's a gender role issue regarding having bipedal ordnance in a wartime scenario. Is that a... I don't know if that's a male or female thing, but okay. If it is, I don't see why it can't be cross-sexual, because anyone in a mech is going to do a lot of damage, whether you're male or female, so I don't see how that's a male fantasy per se. But
it might be a male fantasy because it involves things that are parallel to driving a car.
Oh.
To be fair,
you need to be able to backwards park.
Huge mechs beating the shit out of each other is just fucking awesome.
Yeah, there's also the idea of, what was that, Robot Wars, or any kind of mechanized fighting in a ring, like you might have seen from engineering, mechanical engineering colleges on campuses. They have these mech fights, mostly guys, but nothing says girls can't enjoy engineering or applied engineering. So are you a geek? Do you like technical things? Do you like building things?
But I also think that the big part of mecha or mech animes is the combat. And from personal experience, I can definitely say that while there are women who enjoy learning self-defense, it's... The big difference is that they enjoy defending themselves, whereas more often than not, in my experience, men really enjoy the act of actually fighting.
Okay. Yeah, I was thinking...
So in sparring, etc. So in my experience, it's rare. I know specifically one friend of mine who's a woman who enjoys sparring, but usually it's the men who like it because they like the act of actually challenging each other, challenging in a fight. And women tend to enjoy the act of learning the techniques of defending themselves. At least that's my experience in martial arts classes.
I would roughly agree. It's also that the combative aspect between men also includes the self-improvement aspect.
Yes. That's what I meant. That's what I meant with challenging each other.
Yeah. Because there you have the direct comparison. The fight is so who wins the fight is the one who's better. That's you get your simple feedback. While if you just want, is my technique good? Is my technique good? You need someone external to judge that.
Yeah.
I'm thinking of other elements of the mecha or genre related with war and mecha, because it's not just about a bunch of robots hitting the crap out of each other with guns and axes. It's the story, it's the characters, it's the war, it's why these people are fighting and why we like these stories with characters, with settings about the space race and fighting in a new area that is not Earth, or maybe a colony in space where humans are. So there's all kinds of science fiction elements associated, of course, with mecha, because we don't actually have bipedal tanks running around and flying through the air. So
sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
Yeah, so genre is one of the genre is one of the things that it's not just about a bunch of robots. It's about the story, the politics, the characters, the drama. Not so much the drama like romance, but that is usually an element here and there. It's mostly political drama, which is fine. it just impersonal stuff happens a lot, as opposed to, oh, star-crossed lovers, Romeo and Juliet. Not so much. It's mostly giant countries fighting each other with these very technically controlled secrets that they have in their war chest. That they go, okay, here's the brand new Mark II. It's like, oh my God, it has a vibrating axe. That's scary. And see how that works against the guy who shoots lasers out of his ass. It's all kinds of cool things are happening in mecha anime.
So, yeah, to compare it to a thing I've been spending almost my whole day with, Warhammer 40k. It reminds me a bit of that. It on the outset, if you know nothing about it and just see it, you go. A lot of people go like, "Hey, that looks cool," so it attracts you to it. But then you stay for it because it not just looks cool, but the stories are intriguing. There's a lot of character there. There's a lot of intriguing ideas there. So I see it similar to mecha animes. So just from the outset, you see a fight scene, you go like, "Hey, that looks cool." You look more into it, then you find out the story. So there's a lot of character, and the more you find out about it, the more there is to this fight scene that from the outside just looked cool.
There's also something interesting about Warhammer in that many women, they don't play necessarily sororitas, but they do play a lot of Tyranids, which seems unintuitive at first. What is your thought on that? You're laughing. Because it breaks this mold of, oh, women want to see themselves. No, narcissists want to see themselves.
I know a lot about the Tyranids. That's why I'm laughing.
The thing with the Tyranids is they find them cute.
What?
Really?
Yes.
How are they cute?
They're like little zerglings. They're cute.
Oh.
They just want to eat your face off and absorb your biomass.
Look, women like pugs.
Oh.
I don't know many men who like pugs, but women adore pugs. So why shouldn't they adore Tyranids?
Women see themselves represented in Tyranids. They're also one collective that just wants to absorb biomass.
And mind controls everyone, so everyone does their bidding like in a dollhouse, and they shoot little lava at people and onto birth their armies onto planet. Yeah, we can go that route as well.
Whisp,
but maybe they find them cute.
I have never seen a woman who shot the larvae at people to defend herself.
Yeah, well, that's why it's so effective, that everybody whom it happened to is dead.
Okay.
But my point was that there's this thing, so the phenomenon of something looks cool, but people are attracted to the cool look, but they stay for the cool story.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Interesting.
Here's a last point for this. I would agree that mecha is a male fantasy. It's something that you just see associated. The term has been terms like male fantasy have been co-opted a lot and driven into an insane corner, but it is a thing that exists. It's like the be the hero, slay the dragon, save the princess. That's a good thing. What I, however, see with girls, on the other hand, is that they seem to like the surrogate fighter trope. Pokemon would be the big example, and I mean that works for both sexes, because Pokemon goes for the gatherer and the hunter trait. But there was a clamp anime that captures that well. It was called Angelic Layer. And the thing about that was that you had a little high-tech doll, and those would be mind controlled. Again, we began with mind control. Fucking hell. With your I don't know, your circlet that you wear on your head, and then those would fight on a table, and they would have big tournaments about it. And that's I control a surrogate who fights for me. I don't fight directly. I either fight through someone or someone or something fights for me. And that's what you often see with media associated with girls that they are into.
Well,
which I find very interesting.
If you mentioned clamp anime, I suddenly thought of if Chobits was a fighting android.
It had dolls. It also had AI. Yes.
Yeah, I'd watch that if there was some fighting. It was so boring I couldn't stop.
You have to get very close and personal to turn it off.
Oh, anyway, yeah.
But also one last thing I wanted to say is that I can very much understand why mecha animes are more popular with men, because males tend to be more things oriented, whereas women tend to be more females tend to be more people oriented. And while the story might be very people oriented, what you see in promotion material and in the fight scene, etc., is more thing oriented. So I can see why it's more popular with males.
Yeah. A mecha is also a big ass knight armor and a power armor, just a very, very big one. And that's cool.
Exoskeleton.
Okay.
Power armor thing, knight thing.
All right. This video is 12 minutes and 34 seconds long. I kind of like that number. So we're going to go 1.25. Yeah, 1.25.
Yeah, it's 1, 2, 3, 4.
Yeah. So I don't know why I have to announce that.
If you had the 5, you have the secret code to Smudge.
No, I just realized that it's 1, 2, 3, 4.
Like, okay, we didn't play it. Anyway, let's get going with Mr. What's his name again? The Bellman. All right, here we go.
When watching a mecha anime, a more realistic variety, there's a moment when a canny viewer will ask why mecha have made tanks and planes and all the other panoply of war obsolete. Outside of pat labor, where the answer is, they haven't, there's usually a few lines of technobabble involving some kind of new power source and ultralight, ultra-strong materials, Gundanium and palladium reactors. With a second thought, that rarely makes much sense. You could use those technologies to build an even stronger tank, after all, and still have a weapon which obeys the laws of physics. Tip speeds, ground pressures.
No, it is explicitly there so that it is somehow within this world physics compliant. Also tank drivers.
Wouldn't in a mecha anime, so in a world where you have mechs versus tanks, wouldn't be a mech way more mobile than a tank?
It's the whole joke about BattleTech mech drivers looking down on tank drivers.
Well, that's the ongoing joke in science fiction in general, or any kind of hard science fiction, is the hover tank. The concept of, well, it's a big freaking pile of metal and it flies. Well, not really. It just sort of hovers over the air. But it's highly maneuverable. It's highly defensive. It's highly it has all the elements you would need. So it's like, why do you need spaceships? Why do you need all these other bigger things when you have a hover tank? Does everything?
Also,
the problem with the hover tank is that could really only be a rocket launcher, because the recoil would just well.
There's a lot of problems with hover tank.
There was an American movie. I think it was like 10% comedy that was about a hover tank that had exactly that issue.
Also, the thing is, literally the human physiology, as we're built with arms and legs, we can climb mountains. Can a fucking tank climb a mountain? No, it can't. That's also kind of. Also, another thing is, if the world is built around it, if the world in the story tells you, hey, it's much better than tanks, then, well, unless it shows the opposite, that tanks are much better than the mech's gonna be the better thing.
Well,
the idea is that you have a big weapons platform that carries a load of guns and doesn't die in one hit.
I seem to recall
the counter argument is it has legs.
I don't know if you guys remember the death of Superman. I don't know if you were seeing all the various versions of Superman that came up from his corpse. Like there's the cyborg Superman, you have the Eradicator, and you had Steel. I don't know if you guys remember Steel. It was just a guy in a giant metal suit, basically plate armor, but he had rockets on the bottom of his feet. And I was like, okay, that is completely unbelievable. Where's the gas? Where's the fuel? Where's the
How do you steer that?
How do you get anywhere fast, and how long can you fly? Like, it's so unbelievable that
Did he have a normal metal hammer, or was it rocket propelled?
Oh God, I don't even know. But everything about him there's nothing like fancy about him in terms of technology. Because of course, Cyborg Superman is like a cyborg, and he has Superman's body, so he's super strong, and already he's naturally cool. But this is just a guy, a huge guy, already huge in metal, and he's got rockets and a giant hammer. And I'm like, this does not compute. Like, how the hell? Unless there's
He had determination and grit.
Yeah,
that's what set him apart.
Also, it's about the universe it's set in supporting thing. Like, yes, in our current technological universe, a mech wouldn't make much sense because we haven't reached a point where they make much sense. Similar to bring back up 40k, a lot of people are like, why are they melee weapons in 40k? And then if you have such overpowered range weapons, but then if you think about it, well, there's an enemy that has such a huge number that you can't physically keep them at bay with ranged weapons. You have to have melee weapons.
Yeah,
it's similar to that. So if tanks are not suited for the purpose in that universe, and mechs are shown to be better for that purpose, which they usually are, otherwise it wouldn't be a mecha anime. Yeah, then the mechs are just fucking better because the universe shows you that they're fucking better.
That was the problem with, I don't know if you guys heard of All You Need Is Kill, which was the inspiration for the movie The Day After Tomorrow with Tom Cruise. The protagonist in the manga says, because he dies, because he keeps becoming reborn every time he dies, he says, I need a weapon that I can keep using because I run out of bullets. So you have to make an axe. You have to build an axe that could cut through everything so you can keep fighting in the war.
Yeah, the melee weapon is the thing that potentially doesn't run out of ammo. That's the point. The thing where it gets weird in 40k is where the big Titan things have melee weapons. Some that are so short they don't even halfway reach to the ground, or frumpy metal tentacles that also don't even reach the ground. So how the hell are you supposed to hit something in front of you while your head sticks out halfway of where your tentacles reach? That I have a bit of a problem with.
Yeah, my point mainly was the problem doesn't lie with the mechs or the mechas, it lies with how they're implemented. If the universe supports it that they're better than tanks, then, well, the universe tells you they're better than tanks, and it makes sense.
I think the allegory is probably not the right word. There's the parallel to fantasy would be and Escaflowne aside, the mecha is the super knight, and the tanks are your random idiot archers from way too far away that pink off your armor.
Okay, fair enough.
I would say that's the parallel.
Yeah, and I'm glad that Japan has embraced this concept of using technology as not necessarily deterrent to war, but as an element of future warfare of, okay, we're eventually going to have more automation in our lives. We already have that in war already. How far is that going to go? And I think the element of a piloted machine probably isn't the most practical in terms of fuel and physics.
The question that hits me right now is, how much is this a response to Godzilla? Because how do we fight Godzilla? Well, we built a big metal man.
There you go.
And which was done.
Gojira.
And how much is it the translation of the gods fighting? Because the gods are big, if you want. You can have a fantasy, but because I think the creation myth of Japan was that in super ancient times, the gods were fighting, and the Japanese islands are the result of a sword having 3, 4, 5 drops fall into the ocean.
That's not the creation myth I'm familiar with, but
I don't remember where I read it. It's decades ago. I'm ancient. Not
Well,
as ancient as that story.
There's
but
lots of speculation what the fascination is with giant bipedal human beings that are made of metal are about, but we're going to see what he has to say about his...
oh yeah, there's a video to go.
Yeah. Let's go.
Of giant legs. The Gundam explanation of limbs being required for inertial dampening does not necessitate something that looks humanoid. Carcinization comes for us all. And Minovsky particles disrupting radar rings hollow if you know how effective and ubiquitous optical sensors really are. Never mind how, in anime, it always seems a gun or a missile which could be mounted on any other type of machine is made twice as effective when held by an anthropomorphic one. It's almost as if form trumps function. It's almost as if the obsession with mecha is fantasy and not thought-out speculative futurism.
No, it can be both. Because when you believe in your machine, it will also be stronger.
Just pray to the machine spirit. No, one thing.
Seriously, anyone who's ever repaired computers or anything by just being present and practicing lay on hands knows what I'm talking about.
This reminds me, my boss, quite literally, he has the nickname of being the boss with the golden hands. I was just reminded a bit by that because of what I said, because if we can't do something, if something doesn't work, we just ask him, like, can you take a look at it? He does it once and it works. Anyways, what I wanted to say is that, like, wouldn't it make kind of sense, logically speaking, that if you pilot a thing that looks like a human, that has similar limbs, etc., like a human, that it would make the translation of fighting as that easier than with a tank?
Yeah, I think that is the best idea about that whole thing.
Similar,
so it's not
like
about the weapon system, it's about maneuverability and intuitiveness in using the thing.
Like, basically, if I aim with a gun myself, if I were aim with a gun as a mech, or if it's more similar to each other than if I aim with a gun as a tank.
Turn this knob, pull this lever, readjust that gauge. That is just there's a level of mechanical use in there that is not what a human just does. While we don't see that often in anime, how the cockpits work, they often look like just your regular tank or car or airplane cockpit. But there are those that do this translation, and that is all. You could say we go back to the mind control the machine thing.
That's interesting.
That's in the end what it's supposed to be, because the way many of these mech move, the way they're animated is they move extremely human-like. Like they're truly just the extension of the pilot. Even though if you build this, it would be much more clunky. Some anime does that. I'm sorry, I can't name any off the top of my head. But some creators look more into how mechanical and stiff is this thing, and others for the dynamic of the fight scene make it really really human in all its movements, including why the hell can you move the head around? What's the point? Don't you have cameras?
Pretty much almost all anime, basically all anime and manga I'm aware of with mecha in them, never show the quote-unquote literally pilot's perspectives in a fight. They always show the mech perspective, so the outside. So they never really go into how the piloting works.
You sometimes see the cockpits in some instances.
Yeah, even if they show the cockpits and even if they show the controls, they never show how the controls quote-unquote translate to the movement.
Well, I always like the idea that
you see a scene where a button is pushed or something.
Well, I like the idea that the space stories, or at least the for example, Gundam series would have a lot of battles in space, so the concept of size and maneuverability is like, okay, you're in space, everything makes a heck of a lot more sense. But even with that, I was like, I don't really care about the high-speed action and the dodging and all these thrusters firing and afterburners. I like the big freaking huge mechs that just stood there and had like a giant cannon, and he's just like, okay, I'm going to blow away that thing over there. Like, I'm trying to think of, Virtue. That was the name of the giant mech in 00 Gundam with it was just a tank. It was just this big fat Gundam and just stood there with all these beam cannons, just shoot things from long distance, and everything would get annihilated. Like, that's what you want. You want a big gun to do the big solution problem.
I will just interject that Neff Champion in the chat says G Gundam is what I am talking about, and before Neff gets a heart attack or something.
Oh yeah.
Thank you.
What's that? Remind me of. Do you guys know Zone of the Enders?
Oh yeah.
It's on the shelf.
I grew up with Zone of the Enders second runner.
Oh yeah.
And for me, it's just like, it was always way more awesome to have the mech than to have a tank. Because you have this huge humanoid thing that can fight like a human. So basically take human and the awesomeness of sword fighting, or, well, fighting with guns, etc., but up the scale.
Yeah, basically the tank is a car. It's a very armored car with a very, very big gun. Awesome. The mech is a giant knight with giant guns and or swords. Who doesn't want to have a giant sword that's 50 meters long and slam it into a mountain? And here's another 40K comparison. You have Space Marines, cool, in their way, big power armor, big chunky boys.
Nice. How
do you make them cooler?
Give them fucking bigger power. Give them bigger. Make them bigger.
No. We don't talk about Primaris. That's they didn't have to do that lore thing. It was not necessary to upscale the models. That's.
Oh no! I meant to make them big in the sense of give them huge mags.
Yeah, but I'll get to that. But the thing is, you have these big boys in power armor. How do you make them more awesome? And rules aside and everything, and that whole fiasco. You make Grey Knights. You turn the big-ass power armor into big-ass knights. And people will love them even more. And that's what happened. And then you build a big baby carrier mech that carries the knight in front like a little baby.
The Grey Knights are pretty awesome, though.
There are 3D printable parts for the baby carrier to act as a armor piece that you can put over the little Grey Knight sticking out, which by the way is really, really silly because you have a superhuman, a genetically modified superhuman in a power armor who is then inside a bigger power armor that he pilots through his power armor.
I feel sorry for Smart. Whisp and I have been chatting about 40K since yesterday. So it's bound to come up.
So, that sounds awesome. What are we talking about again? Anyway.
Okay,
mechs are awesome.
Imagine you are a mech pilot, and then with your giant big ass mech, you go into a bigger mech that you pilot with your mech. By the big mech pushing the buttons and pulling the levers of the even bigger mech, which you control through your cockpit. That's what Grey Knight mechs are like. I hate it.
I always saw the ideas of like not transforming mechs, but mechs connecting with other mechs a little hard to grasp. Like, it's hard enough to have this technological wonder and say, not only are we going to get one technological wonder, we're going to combine it with a completely different technology. And like, I don't know if you guys remember or ever watched 00 Gundam, but they had a riser It was Gundam 00 Riser. So there's this riser component, which is basically this flying thing. In space, it doesn't make a difference, but so this other secondary thing just connects to the back of this other. So it's like, why do you need wings? You're already you're in space. You don't need more. But apparently, it makes him faster. It doubles his output and all this crap. So it's like, all right, we didn't need that. Like, there's no need to go further to add more stuff to the thing that's already awesome.
Similar to the Power Rangers who combine and make an even bigger thing.
It's silly.
To me, in my head, always the question comes up: where does it stop? Because you could take the bigger mech, combine it with big mechs, and then make even a bigger mech, and then you could go on like that forever.
Yeah, the thing
I still don't understand how you pilot a mech with 5 pilots simultaneously.
Oh God, with the idea of Voltron was he was so powerful that he could defend the entire galaxy with his output. It was like, holy shit, how much power? Like, how many more? Like, you have like one less lion, like you have 4 lions. Like, could he cover like 4/5 of the galaxy? Like, what can this thing not do? So once you get to that level of technology that's combining itself, it's like, all right, you gotta slow down.
Look, when we zoom out far enough, our galaxy is just a tiny little shining dot in the galaxy cluster called Laniakea.
Yeah.
Which is itself just a little current in the almighty big
people,
thing that we can't comprehend its size of.
People in the chat are mentioning Trans Am, which actually I think makes a lot more sense than a lot of the other crap that was in Gundam, because it's kind of like overclocking. It's kind of like turning off your limiter. They had that thing in other versions of Gundam. There's always a lot of crossover in all the Gundam stories. So the idea
was Trans Am it's a car. Airplane. I thought it was an airplane line.
I don't think so. I don't know. I've never heard it before. But
okay.
The idea is that you're using up all these solar particles because every
Can you hear me?
mech has a solar engine, whatever that means. So I'm guessing fusion. So the idea is you drain all this energy all at once, and you go, all your abilities are maxed out, and then you have to like sleep after that's done. So.
Yeah, because your mecha muscles get sore. They're full of milk acid.
Sounds like a video game. You just level up, you expended all your energy, now you need to sleep.
There you go. Yeah, you're useless. You have to wait like 10 minutes for your mech to move again or whatever it is.
I mean, look, the
you
main problem...
need to wait 24 hours, or you could spend $5 to get 2 mech tokens and spend those to speed up the process.
Well, look, that even makes sense, because in space, you cannot get rid of the heat. If you overheat, you remain overheated. You need a medium to eject it with.
Isn't space cold as fuck as long as you're not in the influence of a star?
Yeah, but you are in the influence of a star. And your own heat. Where do you translate the heat to? This is how double and triple walled windows work. You have a vacuum between. In the best of cases, you have a vacuum between the glasses, because then there is no medium that can exchange the heat. Hooray. And then it stays warm inside, or cold.
All right. Anyway, here's Copperell. How's it going, buddy? Thanks for joining in and popping in and saying hello.
Oh, yeah. I just had a lot of technical difficulties.
All right.
It's fine.
No problem. Okay, we are... Where are we right now?
Trans Am is an airline.
It is? Oh, okay. Fair enough.
I knew it.
I had no idea. I thought it was a car.
I just don't know words anymore.
All right. Anyway,
I think it's defunct, though.
Yeah, well, I think it was a 50s, 60s thing. I'm pretty sure James Bond flew with it once.
Oh, interesting. Anyway, a minute and 23 seconds in. I hope we're all good to go. We're all watching the video. We're good. All right, let's keep going.
Yeah.
There was once an exact conversation about Gasaraki, and someone said that the mecha is popular because it spiritually represents the light infantrymen reasserting themselves over mechanized warfare.
Nice.
And I think that's an idea worth unpacking. Warfare in this industrial era is a frightening thing. Indistinct blurs fire on each other over vast distances. Men become meat in the blink of an eye. The grit of soldiers...
I just have to comment, I just love the language of the infantrymen. asserting themselves over the mechanized unit. I don't know. I just love the language being used. It's so pretentious.
I know. It's like I'm a
It's
bird.
also why he speaks. Why he speaks through his gums and nose.
Well, the idea of saying my F-16 is it an eagle or attack? They're basically attack planes. It's like you're a bird in the wind and you're fighting other birds. It's like
you shit on the ground and then it goes boom.
the supersonic planes that kill other dogfighters. I'm like, yeah, it's romanticized, I guess. Maybe.
Do you do supersonic dogfights?
Oh yeah, it's
that must be a big turning arc.
It's crazy. Like you have to accelerate and decelerate. You're basically going full tilt, and then you're going stall. You're going full tilt, and you're stalling every single.
How's your blood not coming through your pores?
Yeah, you're going to several G's, at least 2 or 3, just to get.
Oh, I think it's a bit more than 2 or 3.
Well, yeah, obviously, but at least 2 or 3 to slow and start again. So. Yeah, it's always romanticized about these dogfighters, and either it's World War II or even nowadays. So
also, I just always love these videos that they use a specific type of language, very flowery language, like saying that the mechs are appealing because it's the infantrymen triumphing over the mech, and it's like no,
it's just like the papers you read in uni.
Yeah. That's basically what I'm getting at. I fucking hate it.
Yeah, in reality, if you're a mech, you are dominating the entire.
Yes.
You're not an infantryman. You are the heavy weapon.
Yes.
So.
You are the new fucking mechanized unit.
Yeah. So.
Hey, look, the tank is the cavalry, and with the mech, you are the knight who gets through the cavalry.
It's basically the very first version of tanks going against the newest version of tanks. It's like, no, you have no chance in hell of succeeding.
The rocket-propelled knight.
All right.
But vehicles and artillery are king, the result being decided by
gold?
technologies and techniques which are difficult to grasp. In anime, with Mecha making the infantrymen 10 or more meters tall, closing until they can swing at each other with axes, it ironically regains...
But mechs are not infantrymen. They're mechs.
They're not... well, they can be fast, but...
I mean, I kind of like, quote-unquote, get to a tiny amount of comparison because they're humanoid like infantrymen, but mechs are not infantrymen.
Yeah, no.
They're fucking mechs.
Is a full-plated knight an infantryman?
I wouldn't say so, no.
It's a special
Especially because knights usually were mounted on a horse.
Yeah, and he also referred to it as light infantry. And heavy armor is the opposite of light. It's heavy.
Yes, I remember the last time the light infantryman was a huge 8 meters tall mech.
Yeah. Battletech light mechs are under 20 tons.
Basically, Reaver Titan.
Actually, I think a mech would best be described as Goliath from David and Goliath, but everybody decided to breed giants. That's really what a mech is to me. Because there's still infantry in different anime and all that, and there's even an anime where there is an infantry soldier with an anti-tank rifle going up against mechs by himself.
Yeah.
That's what anti-tank rifles are for.
I
still want my GM6 Lynx. If anyone has a spare, I'll be happy to take it.
I think a lot of the Gundam stories have the infantrymen in the like last war mech, like they're just a standard issue, and then all the Gundams come out and they like cut them away like butter. So I guess that's the analogy he's going with. There's all these guys in mechs, and then the Gundams come out or whatever, and you're like, they're better. But he doesn't use that context. We're just like, there's a guy with a light sword or a laser sword, and another guy in camo. I don't know.
Beam saber.
Light infantry that kicks houses into each other's face.
Yeah, I mean, I conceptually, I'm like, yeah, they're both humanoids, but in the end, I don't get the comparison between light infantry and mechs because you can have both at the same time.
Yeah.
You can have like a mech that is supported by light infantry, For example, if you have tanks that have weapons that could damage a mech, you could have light infantry that has anti-tank weapons that can take out the tanks to support the mech.
I'd say that is even the better way to put it. The mech is the heavy, and the tanks are in comparison, relatively speaking, the light units.
Yeah.
Well, you could also say, well, the mech is a light unit compared to a battleship.
To once again in this episode of the Smudcast go back to 40k. Mechs in 40k never are quote unquote alone. They always have support from infantry or Astartes, so they always are supported by ground forces. Which to me, in my mind, makes absolute fucking sense because, you know, a mech, there are situations that a mech has difficulty dealing with, like certain small spaces, etc., that they can't access or could destroy, but not right now because they distracted by a different enemy. So I absolutely do not understand this equivalent, the video making the equivalence between mechs and infantry.
But look, that is what BattleTag has the urban mech for. That is just a big tin can that looks like a garbage bin and can spin around 360 and is horrible.
All right. Anyway, we're past 2 minutes. We're slowly getting through this. Here we go.
They humanity, even if the figures are robotic. The mecha is quite visibly an expressive extension of the pilot within, even more so when every important character gets a unique suit. I used the word regains, but like most prelapsarian fantasies, it has only a limited basis in reality.
Prelapsarian okay. I mean, these are...
What does that mean?
Prelapse?
I think my brain skipped in.
No. What does a prelapsarian fantasy mean?
It's kind of like before the fall of man sort of idea. You're all just sort of pure.
Okay.
Yeah.
How does that term apply here?
Yeah, that was my next question. What does that mean in the context of the video?
If we're talking about poetry, I have no idea. Because that's where it's used.
Okay, so the pretentiousness level has increased by 2 points.
Oh yeah, no, it was like the first sentence. We're like, oh, this guy. This is what we're gonna expect from this fellow. Yeah.
So now I'm completely lost.
Please talk like a normal person towards mortals.
Before I was just like, I disagree. Now I'm like, what the fuck do you mean?
Do I need a cigar? Do I have to go outside for a smoke and think about life for a bit? Like, after the fall of man, we created mechs. And like, yeah, that's right, we did.
How am I to deal with these antediluvian arguments? Okay, at least I made it into an alliteration.
Oh boy.
The hubbub about modern network-driven warfare, the foot soldier during the World Wars was little less at the mercy of disease or artillery or any number of other arbitrary threats.
Wait.
What?
He was less at the mercy of disease or artillery?
Did he say little less?
How do you make... Like, that's a big jump, sir, from microbes infecting you to... a shell.
Also like the thing of apart from modern XY warfare, and immediately within the same sentence he goes back to the First and Second World War. I'm like, wait, we did just a huge jump from modern warfare to the First and Second World War. Just like, hold up.
If I jumped around like that in school in my writing, I would get a bad grade. What are they teaching you at uni? To put on a pretentious YouTube voice as if you are talking down from a stage, while the moment I start talking like this, my right eyebrow goes down and the left goes up. What the fuck? You instantly become a haughty wine snob when you talk like this. It's like, what? Dude, talk normally, then your brain might return to normalcy.
Right.
I'm gonna be honest. I just don't get the impulse of why are we talking about First World War and Second World War when we're talking about mechs? It's just like the infantry in the First and Second World War had a difficult time, XYZ, and then suddenly that somehow relates to mechs.
The medical care on the battlefield was not very great. Still,
To me, it just it perfectly exemplifies this need to have a video that has a deep meaning in it. That's why it has to relate to deep subjects.
All right. Well,
but
maybe
he's using from the Smithsonian and other historical footage, so he must be right?
he has to use his vocabulary for something, and this is good enough as any, I think. So let's.
Damn it! I bought this
How old is
thesaurus and I have to use it.
Yeah, that's pretty much my degree in motion. Here we go.
That couldn't be overcome by being a badass fighter. Even all the way back in Hellenic antiquity, with hoplite armies fighting in phalanx, it was less cool 300 warrior antics and more a coordinated shoving match where even the most rugged and muscular individual was completely at the mercy of whether their unit broke or got outflanked. The conceit of nearly every mecha series is that individuals or a small number of main characters can be so good at killing that they basically fight wars all on their own in their custom robot.
Do you know what the first miniguns employed on the battlefield?
Quick question.
Wasn't it during the Zulu?
For example, the thing is, that was the super weapon of the time. The mecha is the imagined super weapon of our time that trumps all the weapons we have right now. It would be that minigun.
I think it's pretty common, even in the Gundam stories, to have the main character or a character be the ace. Like he's the guy who's fought a lot of battles, won all the wars, or won all the battles, and it's coming alive. There's always that one or two guys they're the veterans. So like, okay, these guys are great. And then there's the new age, the new type, the 15-year-old who's like, just I can balance this mech to all my specs, and I can control it faster and more efficiently than anyone else. There's that element.
This reminds me so much of there's a rhyme about the first quote-unquote modern machine gun, the Maxim gun.
Yeah.
And the rhyme is, whatever happens, we have got the Maxim gun and they have not. Which is the scene of the Maxim gun, the first machine gun, where you still had to turn the thing so that the gun shoots, against, well, quote-unquote savages, which had spears and arrows.
Yeah.
He basically completely annihilated them, and that's kind of the saying there. So we have the modern technology, you have not, and that's kind of the same with Mecha.
You might have the most popular movie that you might have seen that used was in The Last Samurai.
Yeah. Also, Copperau wanted to say something.
Yeah.
A little neat trivia about the Gatling gun. Colonel Custard was offered Gatling guns when he went to go fight the Indians, and he refused to bring him.
Because he fought it dishonorable?
I believe that was the reason, and he died. So, always take a Gatling gun if you can.
Well, he did die an honorable death then.
There we go.
I mean, sometimes even modern machinery doesn't help you, as the Australians learned when they were fighting a war against the emus.
Well, they're
using the Lewis gun.
Well, they are on the DLC continent. That's their problem. Going there at level 1.
Okay.
With all the elite spawn.
That's true. Demon level creatures at level 1. Like,
where even little hamsters have bone armor in their butts that stop small calibers.
Even the plants kill you over there.
All right. So the idea is the new technology is the superior weapon, which causes tactics to be successful in any ground battle. Yes, obviously. Okay, we got you.
Who needs combined arms or organization or industry when you have plucky teenagers? Death comes not because a battery commander 50 miles away decided to eliminate your entire grid square, but after face-to-face confrontations, tense words exchanged before a clash of blades. Tanks and planes and warships are too impersonal. Conflict has to be resolved mano a mano with ideology and steel. At its campiest, the effect is that picturesque recruitment poster of war once used to push young men into the trenches. You, yes, you, can be such a good fighter that you can travel the world, kill interesting people, and entire armies or harems or the forces of history themselves will bow before you. And no, killing off a bunch of...
Sorry, I just lost it at the phrase of kill interesting people.
What,
Yeah, same here.
what does that mean? I'm going to get close up to you, have a
It's
nice
about killing the bad guys.
Philosophical
Not the other guys.
debate. And I'm like,
Not we guys. That's the bad guys.
no, Mr. Bond, I expect you to... oh, you got me.
He hasn't gotten to the end of this argument yet, but if he's going where I think he's going, no, mechs don't make me want to go join the army.
Or kill
Not
interesting
because
people.
they don't have mechs.
Also, because, well, even if I wanted to join the army, the Swiss army said, no, you're not capable of joining the army, so no thanks, just give us your money.
Can you imagine? Okay, the recruitment poster, Uncle Sam wants you to kill Einstein. Like, what?
Mech
hold on,
pilots
what?
would be as rare, if not more rare, than astronauts.
Also, who cares if you're a plucky teenager? If you're fucking good at piloting a mech, get in the fucking mech, Shinji.
Also, wouldn't mechs, like real mechs, just be controlled with like an Xbox controller or something, and not actually have a pilot
I
inside of it?
have a feeling that is where it will eventually move towards when
Right.
you want intuitive movement of these things.
And then suddenly, mech fights are gonna be like fucking Xbox 360 lobbies.
No, they'll be
Oh,
look, they'll be piloted by 4 Joy-Cons, and you have a little switch in front of your eyes that you wear like a 3D projector, 3D glasses.
Yeah.
so my true calling.
In Xenoblade X, the enemy faction, which is more technologically advanced, the mechs of them are basically like VR. So it's basically like you are the mech.
Yeah, that's what Snowball did in Pinky and the Brain. Brain's mech was still pulling levers and everything. It was really clunky to move. While Snowball, the hamster, he had his VR suit jump around on a little hex platform where the mech would naturally imitate his movements style. It was great.
Yeah, I'm suddenly
That was from
reminded
G-Gundam too.
of the logical conclusion to remote warfare. If you guys remember the original Star Trek episode, A Taste of Armageddon, where that episode where the girl walks into the eradication chamber and she gets eliminated because the computer determined the battle results of the other side attacking them. So, you know,
I'm not surprised that she got eradicated in the eradication chamber.
yeah, no, it's like, okay, how far do we take this science fiction to the point of, oh, everyone could just work remotely, we're all just fighting our own little toys and robots smashing into each other? It's like, yeah, that's not going to happen. We're not going to be that weird about it. And then, of course, Kirk was like, Kirk comes by, he's like, oh, we kill each other with our fists and knives and guns. It's like, oh, thanks, Kirk, okay. We're going to change our...
Kill your enemies via Zoom call.
Well, that might actually work by transferring computer viruses.
Oh, yeah, you would hack the other remote mech, and then now it's yours. You could, turn it around. Oh, boy.
Yeah, putting on that suit, like Whisp was saying, that was G-Gundam. They didn't have a cockpit. They stood in like some little room inside their Gundam, and they actually piloted it like it was themselves. That's why a lot of the fighters were like martial artists and all that.
Oh, God. do not watch Babylon 5, the Tale of the Rangers or whatever the hell it was. Oh, my God.
No, don't. No, that doesn't exist. It
No.
doesn't exist.
My brain went,
Anything
oh, my
past the
God.
original series does not exist.
That is the
It was
funniest
never
thing.
made.
That was so funny to see that girl punching the stars. I was like, oh, my God, what is she doing?
Why?
It was so funny.
as an aside,
It would have. You could see in that scene that it would have worked better if you just pushed some buttons.
As
You
an
would have been
aside,
faster.
As an aside, I really like concepts like they use in Darling in the Franxx, where you, in order to pilot a Franxx or a mech, you need a male and female pilots.
That was Vandred.
And they have different roles, and I really like the concept that you need a pair of pilots.
Has nobody watched Vandred?
I have watched Vandred, yes.
I have not.
Vandred did that 20 years ago.
Yeah. It was interesting.
I'm not ancient.
And with much better innuendo.
Well, yeah.
It was subtle and funny.
For a kid's show,
Wisp,
yeah. It was
Not
fun.
in your face.
Wisp, but have you considered the fact that I kind of have a soft spot for Darling in the Franxx?
I don't care. Watch Vandred, and then you watch Vandred second stage.
Where you find out the girl's really a guy. Oh my god. Anyway. 4 minutes in.
And why do you harvest spines and eyes?
Yeah,
Cuts.
it's a female-dominated whatever society.
Cuts to the guy shockingly going like, "You had a cock all along."
Anyway. Back when it was fun, we could talk about those things. Now we can't. Anyway.
Yeah.
Oh, Chad knows what I'm talking about. Thank you, Chad.
Okay.
People with
I only know
culture.
the Yu-Gi-Oh!
Episodes and growling about the cruelties of war does nothing to disperse that, since it usually serves the ultimate purpose of making the main character's plot armor shine even brighter. Another pushback I have gotten on this thesis is that mecha are less influenced by this general observation of militaria than specifically by fighter.
Militaria.
Militaria.
Quick question.
Militaria Americana. Is this the birth of Neo-Gothic? Are we moving to actual 40k?
I
I
wish.
hope so.
He sounded like it.
Quick question. What the fuck even is his thesis?
We haven't gotten to
Yeah,
it
he
yet.
didn't state it.
We don't know.
He
Mecha
said-
into male fantasy.
As a pushback of his thesis. But
We have a
what?
title so far.
That's
I
all
mean,
we ever have in these videos.
He reminds me so much of, like, literally when I was at university. There was once when we had an exam. Part of the exam was small essays. My goal of the essay was to write the biggest bullshit I could while using the words that they liked to hear. I was the best of that class. The thing I wrote about was saying that the one ad for a Swiss soft drink, it doesn't exist in other countries, it's called Rivella. There was a Rivella Green. It had a specific, in the ads, it had a specific type of text that looked foreign. It looked Asian. The argument I said, it was oppressing Asians by writing it like Asian text. By using the words that they liked, I got a good grade. My actual opinion is they just used that fucking text because it struck your eye. It made you look like, oh, that looks interesting. So it really extremely reminds me of that case where you just use the words people like to hear.
It's a different type of nostalgia baiting. I'm sure there's a word for it.
And as an addition, we had to read papers after papers where they used fancy word for the most basic concepts there are. And it reminds me of that too.
Yeah, that's how you write academic texts, right? You use the big words.
Yeah, and I forgot a couple of the
It
words.
doesn't matter whether you make sense. You just need to use the big words.
Like the concept of using stereotypes, which is extremely normal. Humans work with stereotypes, etc. Got this incredibly fancy word that was explained within 3 pages of text, and you like at the end of the text you say like, so you mean stereotypes. But they just wanted to be the one that used the fancy new word for this new concept that has existed for 2,000 years.
Oh, there is a point to that. If you look into how socialist propaganda works, because they always need to distinct themselves from the thing that they say that is a bad thing, like stereotype. But since they are stereotyping themselves in everything they do, they need a word for stereotyping that they do that is good, that doesn't sound like the word stereotyping at all, because they have demonized the word stereotyping.
Yeah.
Like the word coded.
I was
Yeah.
about to say that.
Yeah. Or the word erasure, which is like basically excluding others. And we're like, yeah, that's the most normal thing
Worst.
there
It's
is.
annihilation.
But yeah, this video extremely reminds me of that time at uni.
All right, let's keep going.
Pilot Top Gun. To which I respond that it's simply reaching the same point by extra steps. What does fighter plane media do, if not insist that the whims of modern warfare can be bent around your balls of steel against all reason and historical precedent? An irony that both Top Gun and Macross share is that the iconic F-14 Tomcat was not designed to have thrilling dogfights with Russian fighters, but to protect the fleet by obediently lobbing giant missiles at the radar returns of bombers 100 miles away. Even before missiles and radar, air combat consisted of far more ambush, coordination, and chaos than the dramatic one-on-one duels out of the movies.
How is that not the same
dogfight
thing?
is personal.
Yeah, but there's still a word dogfight.
Yeah.
They're all chaotic. They're completely unplanned. Oh my God! Someone's traveling at me extremely fast speeds with bullets firing at me in all directions. What do I do? Oh, it's
Also,
orderly and composed. That's how I'm going to react. Like, oh, okay.
Also, to take it more to a meta level, what would you want your movie to be about? The boring as fuck bombing runs, or the interesting dogfights that actually happened?
The dogfight is heroic, so we do the dogfight.
Like the Rote Baron,
Yeah.
Red Baron.
Exactly.
Well,
yeah.
our video guy would then say, "Oh, but those were different planes. They were just
But
shooting each other."
Interesting as fuck.
Pistols.
I would make movies about that guy.
Also, he died from a guy on the ground.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, he did. Count Dankula made a great video about the Red Baron. Watch it.
Yeah, it
Anyways,
is actually good.
That's the thing I would make movies about. Not the other fighter planes that just, flew over to Britain, dropped 2 bombs, flew back to Germany. Boring.
That's what the Japanese would make.
Well, I don't.
With lots of committee meetings and talking.
I don't think he wants to paint himself in a corner, saying, "Oh, you know what? This is so unreal. This fictional fantasy science fiction world is so unbelievable." It's like, okay, that's not.
So what?
Yeah, that's not a criticism that you could really levy at stories. It's like we read the stories because they are fantastical and magical and different. And
I would say in a deliberately reductive and bad faith manner, I would liken all of this to why do you have a dog in Independence Day?
Yeah.
For the emotional connection.
For me, it's also the kind of thing that, like, yes, in current day technology, mechs make no sense because we don't have the technology to make them work. But if the universe or the anime, the manga, the film, whatever, presents them as working as intended, yeah, they work and they're fucking cool.
Yeah.
We also don't have magic spells yet.
okay. Oh God.
And those dogfights could actually be very emotional as well. Like if you listen to World War I stories of dogfights and everything, like they're seeing the guy freaking his expression right before he dies and everything, and the other plane and all that. Or that one.
Sorry,
the one story where the bomber got shot up. Oh, sorry.
No, continue.
Okay. A bomber got shot up, and a German soldier German pilot decided to escort the bomber, and they didn't know that, so they opened up the door, and they start shooting at him with their pistols. But he just through, sign language told him, no, I'm escorting you, and he escorted them to the British Isles. Because in Germany, you're not supposed to shoot down parachuters and you're not supposed. And he took this as like, well, these guys are going to die, so I'm just going to consider them as a parachuter. So he helped them out.
Also, in what I would say, in stories, sometimes you embellish things, you make things cooler, you make things more interesting.
Yeah.
Which is why, literally, when everybody, I don't know a single person who doesn't do that. When you see at the end of the film, based on real events, you're gonna go like, yeah, so what? The real event is not gonna be like that. Sometimes it was like that, but you usually assume that it wasn't like that. Because, you know...
There were stories in the wars that are so unbelievable and unlikely on levels of chance that even the most embellishing Hollywood movie wouldn't bring it because that sounds too unbelievable.
I know what you mean, but also I want to say that often if you, how would you say that? If you embellish, if you make something to seem, or if you take out the more extreme circumstances and make them even more extreme, there's not extreme circumstances, and take them out to be even more pronounced, humans react more to that. And extreme situations or extreme things really are a great way of representing ideas, a great way of representing emotions, and humans react more to these embellished versions of things. So in stories, very often things are embellished because humans like it and react more if they're embellished.
Yeah, because it helps them process their own emotions and get them out, because normally in normal everyday life, they can't. Either because they are now adults and old enough, or they have repressed it so much, but it is all still there. And that is why people always loved stage plays. And why Julia goes, "Oh, Romeo, Romeo," and almost dies just saying it. Spoilers.
It makes it also simpler.
All right.
And humans react to simplicity. Yeah, that was my point.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I think, he's, I don't know what he's doing here, but it's kind of like, okay, we can't just say it's so unbelievable. Why don't they just do something realistic? It's like, yeah, we work with that in fiction. It's not a inherently complex thing, nor is it unique to mecha anime. So I don't think this is a worthy point to bring up.
So one of mecha anime, be they Japanese or American, is that it represents individuals, the manly men, exhibiting their strength in modern warfare against a technological paradigm which, at least in the popular imagination, makes conflict ever colder and more distant than it was yesteryear. Sometimes that manifests as a supposed return to infantry daring do, other times as gallant Red Baron fantasies. If this were an English class, you would call it a latter-day romanticism, glorifying the past and the individual. But there is another interpretation, what you might call a materialist reading. In You and the Atom Bomb, George Orwell, bear with me, wrote the following while discussing the implications of the then-new nuclear weapon. Ages in which the dominant weapon is expensive or difficult to make will tend to be ages of despotism, whereas when the dominant weapon is cheap and simple, the common people have a chance. Thus, for example, tanks, battleships, and bombing planes are inherently tyrannical.
I hear this is an argument for recreational nukes.
Yes, it is.
Awesome.
I would own one.
I'm imagining like hydrogen bombs, not nuclear, but like smaller scale, bigger weapons that do big things, but just not as lethal. So it's like, yes, it's right.
Do you know what the Davy Crockett is?
The mini nukes.
Yes. Yeah, that's the record. That's what a lot of people want, actually, when you're in the whole gun culture kind of people. They say, we need David Crockett's.
Oh yeah, there's a whole issue with well, not anymore. I don't know if it's a big deal anymore, but back in we had our gun laws in Canada. If you were native, because natives are fighting for the rights and their land and all that crap, you're allowed to own artillery if you're Native American. You could prove you're Native American to Canada. So you had all these restrictions lifted for weapons, but these
they're
are
all spending it on booze.
well, these are not the greatest places to live up north. So it's like, all right, they can have these things, but they have like howitzers and all these other shit. So technically, they could own like a small tank of some kind with this really ancient like Canadian tank that no one wants anyway. Like you could actually own one like for recreational use, and I'm like, holy shit, you could start a war if you wanted. But with 100-year-old tech,
maybe I should go take a visit over there.
yeah, I'm Native
Native
American.
Canadian tanks.
Yeah, we don't have too many of those running around anymore.
Well, we talked about Canadian tanks, Canadian fighter jets. I'm just waiting for the Canadian Secret Service.
We do have one. We just don't know what it's called. That's how good they are.
That is the only sign that it is actually a good one.
Whether they do
There was
good
a
or
joke
bad.
about there was a joke about that in the series to Honey I Shrunk the Kids.
Oh, really?
Yeah. There was an entire plot that went over several episodes where the husband, the scientist, was captured by a Canadian supervillain and then rescued by the Canadian James Bond, and everybody kept asking, like, we have a secret service? We have supervillains? That's how good we are. Nobody even knows we exist.
Okay.
That reminds me of the only reason why I actually know that Switzerland does have a secret service is because my dad, who used to work in the military, sometimes had dealings with them. Otherwise, I wouldn't have known. And literally no one. It's like MI5 or MI6 is very much in public consciousness due to James Bond.
Yeah.
And other things. But Swiss Agency of Information, I think it's called. I'm not even sure about the name of the Secret Service of Switzerland. I know that it exists because of my father, but I keep forgetting the name. No one knows. Like, literally, you could ask any Swiss person, and they were like, we have a Secret Service?
The problem that I see is that neither the MI5 nor the Canadian Secret Service, whatever it is called, is very good at protecting you from communists.
Yep. They probably all are communists.
I actually
with the MI5, we know they've been already taken.
I wouldn't know about the Swiss Secret Service, to be
right.
honest, because it's literally not even mentioned. I've never seen it mentioned in public.
The MI5 had put out these woke quota hiring practices.
yeah.
So that's a pretty good sign that they are completely taken over.
Basically, if you look for a job at the MI5, don't be white.
Anyway, let's continue.
Want to hear something absolutely terrifying? My stepdad actually met the Secret Service once because he fixes up airplanes, and sometimes he has to fix up Air Force One. And
this is a very common. That.
No, it's fine. Everybody knows this.
I know people who fix Tony Blair's planes, but
but
you shouldn't Tony mention Blair. Who is doing that for various reasons.
Yeah, it's a very this is a very knowledgeable thing because of where it is, and it has to do with George Bush and all that. But it's like there's a thing called the football, and when you know what the football is, they lose it all the time.
Oh,
and he found it once.
He found the football.
He found it, and they had to take him in and like question him and everything on all that. But the thing that scared me the most is like
I would counter like, why the fuck do you leave this here, you fucking idiots?
And he told me,
why are you mad with me? I should be mad with you. Everyone should be mad with you, not me.
He was telling me
I
the
found
story.
it because I found it. What do you think happened if Dr. Evil had found it?
But this is the scary part. When he told me the story, he says, "Not again." This happens multiple times, and he happened to be the one that found it multiple times.
Oh God!
You know, sometimes
that sounds like purpose.
All right.
Sometimes I worry when
maybe they played a running gag on it.
When the USA has worse security measures than the museum I work for, which exhibits crappy modern art.
I mean, it's at least they don't use the security code 000000000.
Oh no! Like,
0.
seriously, the security measures we have to take are sometimes very, very extremely strict.
All right.
They did use that code.
Okay.
When it got public, they finally changed it
Anyway.
because they wanted to make sure the president can actually use the bloody thing.
Here's the super chat from Adam Wooford. Thank you, sir, for the 10. It depends on which mech universe. Gundam is dogfights, Battletech is knights and mechs. Then Super Robots is like superheroes, so you could compare some of them to legendary stories. I want entertainment. Okay. Yeah, no, it's each subgenre has its own level of what element is warfare, how much they focus on that, how much is politics, how much is interpersonal stuff. So you get your own flavors of mech anime depending on the writer. So.
Oh, absolutely. I think like different mech genres have different appeals, etc. I think we just were rather confused by his comparison of mechs to infantry.
Oh yeah, I mean, I love the Macross idea because the original concept was there's a battle maiden. She's a singer, and she influences the war by encouraging the people to fight better. However that works, and there's always the top ace guy, and then there's the love interest. There's this constant, not a triangle, not a love triangle necessarily, but there's always some conflict on a personal level that interferes with the war that has to do with dogfighting. And all the crazy animation and fun stuff that comes from that. So there's always something for everyone, or at least of those elements. So,
absolutely.
So
I completely agree with you. There's the interpersonal element cannot be ignored because it's incredibly important. I mean, if it was just mech fighting, it was just like it would be like, yeah, it's cool for 5 minutes, but after 2 hours, it's like, yeah, well, kind of boring.
I know, and a lot of Gundam does that where it's all war, and you're like, oh, okay. Well, not all of it. Like some of the ones that I've watched would be like just pure war. Yeah, there's a princess here or there that may have a thing for the guy, but the guy's like just pure war and fighting, combat, defense, whatever. So that's the problem with the narrative is just plot, no character development, no development of any kind for interpersonal relations or whatever the scenario is with characters from kingdoms or other political parties. They either get killed off or they just run away. So yeah, it's not the same in every story.
That just kind of reminds me of Darling in the Franxx. I'll bring it up again because I honestly quite like it because in that one the mechs are almost not an afterthought, but while they are important, they are a tool to further the interpersonal relationship, which I find quite fascinating because for me it's just like, while the mechs may be cool and interesting to see, the human element is incredibly important as well.
Like what name?
Big O.
Bloody hell. Guillermo del Toro did, but with sex.
Yeah. But also, to me, I think the issue I have with the video is that he takes the mechs and it completely fucking ignores the interpersonal dimension and just only takes it as in a material sense. Oh, they're like infantry because they're like humans.
Well, he skimmed over the interpersonal in earlier parts of his video. He's now explicitly talking about the material.
I know, but for me, it's just like a mech anime or mech manga or mech movie, etc. It's interesting, generally speaking. A story is interesting because of the characters and people in its story. Sometimes the story can be interesting because of what's happening, but you tend to be not invested if you don't give a shit about the characters. So, while first of this dimension that it's interesting because of the characters that pilot the mechs, but then he only looks at it from the material dimension that they're kind of like infantry, and then even the comparison to infantry makes zero sense, so I'm kind of completely lost what this video is supposed to say. and then he keeps using the flowery language, and
Yeah.
what even is the argument anymore?
Was there ever one? But to lighten the
That's
mood,
my question.
Slayers had a great Mecha movie. I don't remember whether it was Slayers Great or Slayers Gorgeous. I always mix those two up. But they're both awesome. All the Slayers movies are awesome. Watch the Slayers movies.
Also, mech anime doesn't have to be about war. It could be about, like, look at Big O. That's a noir mystery show, but it just happens to have mech battles at the end.
Well, in Slayers, it's about a family squabble between two artists.
I mean,
There you go.
for me personally speaking, for example, to bring it to once again mention Darling in the Franxx, that one is about relationships and love, not really about mechs and battle.
And aren't they fighting, like, giant dinosaur monster things?
Yeah, but even those, like, if you watch the anime, they take way less screen time than the relationship drama.
Well, I'm pretty happy
It's
he hasn't
like-
brought up Evangelion yet, so that's,
Oh,
amazing.
yeah.
We are all trying not to.
I'm impressed.
It has an
I'm holding
amazing
back on-
theme song, though.
Guys, I'm being honest.
Oh,
I'm holding
God.
back on mentioning an anime.
Yeah. Well, it's either this
I
one
can
or Razafon
I can cite ancient German poems like parts of Goethe's Faust, and that fucking song. To this day, I know the lyrics to that fucking intro song.
Mm.
Go away, please.
Goethe's Faust. I was the only one in high school who really liked reading Faust.
Faust 1 was amazing.
Faust 1 is amazing.
Yes,
I haven't read it yet. I have it. Though.
Read it!
Well, it's
Good!
Yeah, it's even if the poetry gets lost in translation, the story is great.
Man,
Yeah.
I absolutely... Well, being from Switzerland, I read it in original language. I love the poetry of the language.
Vom
It's-
Eise befreit sind Strom und Bäche, durch des Frühlings holden belebenden Blick.
It's so beautifully written.
Im Tale grünet Hoffnungsglück.
And everybody apart from me hated reading it, and I was like, it's so nice to read it.
It's the thing with Goethe is that you have to read it out loud.
I still have it some.
The moment you read Goethe out loud, it becomes just an explosion of fireworks and spring blooming. No
I don't
matter
like-
which story which poem you read. Fantasia, the Disney movie with Mickey and the walking brooms, is based on a Goethe poem.
I don't like everything by Goethe, but I really like Faust 1. Anyways, we jumped off topic.
All right. I was just humming "Cruel Angels" Angels theme to myself.
No, I just had it out of my head.
Anyway, that's
Why do you do this? Why do you hate me?
Rifles, muskets, longbows, and hand grenades are inherently democratic weapons.
I have my issue
Wait.
with that.
Stop.
Can I hear that
categorization
again?
by Orwell.
I need to hear that again. Did he say that? What did he say was democratic weapon?
That's Orwell.
In the most literal sense of the word, demos kratos, the people, power.
Yeah.
But if I own a battleship, and it is manned by the people, we are the people, and we exert our kratos.
So bows, longbows,
But the
hand
problem
grenades, and muskets. If there are more, the democratic.
This is a very American democratic example.
I think
Oh, yeah.
when did I don't know when Orwell wrote this, but it seems like it's still very influenced by his socialist fighting in Spain
Oh, yeah.
period.
Democracy ruled by the daemons, ruled by the
Yeah, because this sounds more like anarchy
What's it-
and overthrowing the government than it does or any other thing than it does
ruled by the
Anything else?
majority. So because if there are more longbows, hand grenades, or rifles on one side, they're the majority, they win. It's democratic.
Oh.
I mean, I agree that yes, this is a very pro Second Amendment
Yeah.
paragraph, yes. But so bombing planes, okay, we have an equivalent to that now. Bombing drones,
I mean,
which you can have as a private person. Like you can't legally, but you should not build it, although you might be capable of it. But you know what I'm saying.
Technically speaking, if you as a private person were able to have tanks, battleships, or bombing planes, it would be a democratic weapon as well.
All because of their size. They're not massive bombs. They're handheld or whatever. That's what
they're
he's trying
not
to
fat mans or little boys.
Yes, that's the equivalent. He's trying to say that these are weapons of men, that they would deal with authority that way. So that would be a way of issuing problems of power. It's like, okay, fine, yeah, okay.
The others are weapons of the state because it requires tons of resources to keep them going.
It just sounds funny the way that it came out. Anyway,
yeah.
Here's Adam Woodford one more time. I tried to watch this, but I had to stop. Also, some of you guys are too loud, breaking. Darling and the Franks, they were fighting dinosaur robots. Or dinosaurs robots? Dinosaur...
Plaxosaurs are they called.
All right.
They're called.
All right.
Weapons, while rifles, muskets, longbows, and hand grenades are inherently democratic weapons. A complex weapon makes the strong stronger, while a simple weapon, so long as there is no answer to it, gives claws to the weak. I would argue that much of the following 80-odd years put lie to his thesis that nuclear weapons would terminally ossify the world order, since nations and peoples have found other ways to compete with and disrupt each other.
Like Pizza Hut.
Orwell seems to ignore the dramatic impacts that national industrial warfare has had on the political economy in and of itself. But I do find this argument that weapons can shape the political landscape compelling. There is something to be said for the way mecha shows tend to depict dudes with rifles and rocket launchers blowing up tanks and planes and ships, even if they are gigantic. But in a less...
So one thing I wanted to mention, we had it with intuitive controls. Wouldn't a mecha that you control with the gun, etc., be more simple in terms of controlling it than a difficult thing like a nuke or anything?
I think it does refer to the resources you need to maintain the weapon.
Okay.
Because a crossbow is still more complicated in manufacture than a bow, but it is easier to use.
Yeah, but that's my point.
You're also still capable of maintaining it as a single person, while the mecha, it's assumed it's easier to control than a tank. You could not maintain it as a single person.
Yeah, true enough.
Logistics is also a thing.
Yeah.
In a fully literal sense, there is often an air of disruption, revolution even, to mecha media, whether the protagonists stand for or against. Anyone with any experience with military mechanics would tell you there's no way a complex walker could be repeatedly operated out of a cave with a box of scraps. But mecha shows love to depict small fry and irregulars somehow managing to maintain a fleet of them and engaging in stand-up fights with the Fed.
I mean,
I am pretty sure the weirdos in the sieges in the sandbox in the Middle East would disagree if they had a mecha.
Also, it entirely depends on how the universe is presented.
Yeah.
Are they on a desert planet that has all the resources that would allow them to keep the mecha going?
Yeah, we assume that they have the logistics.
Yeah, I remember the story of Xenogears. I mean, they have a sand submarine. So it's like, okay, and then they have a specific mech that fights in the sand. He has whips, it's like metal whips. It sounds nuts. But there's enough of these mechs running around the universe, and at least the story of Xenogears, that you go, oh, okay, this has some level of, not believability, but rather the level of them, the number of them, causes them to be commonplace. So your brain goes, okay, there's all these mechs running around. There must be different levels of quality and maintenance and technique on how to build and maintain these things. So it's like, okay, that's enough. There's all this technology running around, and there's also cities in the skies and all that crap. So it's like, all right, my suspension is willingly suspended. I don't need to think about this too much. So that's what we do.
That's
Also, if the desert was a battlefield, they could actually scavenge for the mech parts from fallen mechs and all that. Just jury rig them together.
Possibly.
And what Smart said exactly exemplifies my point. If the storytelling, the universe, how it's told, allows for you to believe that they could operate a mech for long periods of time, then you're gonna believe that they could. Take, for example, it's a fictional universe where there's a pirate group, and they manage to have a base on a planet that has the resources that they need to operate the weapons that they need, and it's very impressive weaponry, but they actually are on a planet that has the resources that would allow them to have that weaponry. You're gonna believe that they could have that weaponry.
Yeah, consider the United States. They have several 100 miles long tunnels that connect the US bases in the United States. So if ever there is a major problem, then they have logistic lines that they can still use even if there is trouble going on the surface. And if we fast forward 10,000 years into the future, and nobody remembers the United States, there is still this network present. Maybe it's partially collapsed, but it is still there. A similar thing could be allowing the logistics in such a story.
Okay.
When the protagonists are part of a military organization, it's always young people with their nifty machines stepping into or opening up the breach where the old fogies cannot, fighting righteously to place their stamp on the new order. Gundams are horse archers, dreadnoughts, or high-explosive artillery, the new technology which upsets the balance of power and forces everyone to adapt or die. But in a fictional medium where single weapons and pilots
usually
can be
Mecha
so
against Mecha.
preternaturally effective, this is often in contest with that prior reading of Mecha as an individualist fantasy, especially when hereditary psychic gifts are made the key to success. Can you truly have a democratic struggle in a conflict where success...
One thing I never understand is he seemingly makes this comparison as well, is that the people seem, especially people who make videos, seem to think that if you have works that depict one example and works that depict a different example, they cannot be compatible? Or in the sense that even if they depict incompatible examples, they cannot coexist?
Yeah, the idea of you can't have a democratic conflict because you have these specialists or these young men coming out in these fancy new mechs. You're like, isn't that what happens in any conflict where you have equal sides or superior sides? There's one guy who takes the charge, who's the hero.
Isn't that just one demos fighting another demos?
Yeah, and even if you then have a different series depicting a different thing that's incompatible, so what? It's a different situation.
Yeah, it's
a different series.
Like I remember, was it one of the Gulf Wars or whatever? It was like all these Americans had their Abrams tanks out, and the Saudis had their I don't know, 7 or 8 tanks running around on the sand dunes. It's like within a matter of like 7 minutes, they just annihilated all the other opposing forces. It was like, oh, that was fast. It's like, yeah, that's pretty much how it goes. The American solution is usually 3-1, 4-1, and that's how they go, whether it's mechanized or otherwise. So it's not like this is unheard of. Like, obviously you want your men to survive, whether it's the other side has the superior weaponry. It's still 1 against like 30 or whatever the case may be. And the fun part of that is he's the freedom fighter. He's the guy who's fighting for what he believes in, or whatever side he whatever virtue he's got, and you root for him. You're like, hey, this is the guy, and that happens in almost all the Gundam stories. So,
yeah,
but also, unless I'm misunderstanding the video, which is very possible because I've had a bit of alcohol tonight, but he's saying like this Gundam series is depicting X, and this Gundam series is depicting Y, and they're contradicting, oh, how terrible. But I'm like, yeah, but they're different series, different situations, different. There could very well be a series where mecha are invented and used and they're terrible, and another series where they're the best thing ever. It just depends how they present it, if it's written well, if the world works well, and it's... I just absolutely do not understand the point of this fucking video.
He has not really much talked about the male fantasy.
He's basically describing things and nothing less.
Yeah.
But yes,
Talking
where's
about
the
random
male
bits and bobs
fantasy?
about mecha.
Yeah,
I love big mechs. They're cool.
With special sauce.
Well, I want some like, when a boy is 8, this is what he wants. When a boy is 15, this is what he then wants. Like, oh, interesting.
Yeah.
And then we connect that to things blowing up in a mech. Like, all right, yeah, I got that. Nothing yet.
You have to consider smart. It would be kind of boring because if you go like, if a boy is 13, he would like a beautiful woman. If your boy is 18, he would like a beautiful woman. If your boy is 25, he would like a beautiful woman. It would be kind of boring.
It is also a male fantasy.
They didn't want a beautiful woman at 25. I wanted the guns.
I wanted the car, but then I wanted the car that transforms into a plane. And then I said, no, I don't want the plane. I want the mech that can fly like a plane.
And transform into a war.
That might be a bit too much.
Yeah.
Bit too Oedipal, I think, if you connect the inside the robot. Get inside the robot, Shinji. Like, oh, that's not.
Oh no!
This video
We're back.
What's going to be more about like how you see the 80s action movies, you see you get the hero, but instead of a big gun and the girl, you get the mecha and you get the princess and all that. I thought it was going to be more about that stuff. And everything.
That could be a good connection. Yeah, there are plenty of monarchical or political characters that have to marry to cause peace, and there's always some freedom fighter who's into one of them, and they're into the freedom fighter. And so it's kind of silly in some of these stories, but it is there.
Yeah.
You know, thus far, this video has said a whole lot of nothing.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Let's get through it.
Let's keep going, yeah.
Restfully gifted few. I think the most interesting series to view through these competing lenses is Universal Century Gundam. I would be far from the first to observe that the appearance of new types...
Sorry to pause again, but I have a question. What are the competing lenses that he mentioned? Because I honestly don't know.
The materialistic and the whatever he talked about before that.
Okay.
And the different readings of his team.
The pink.
Hello?
Yep, we're going.
Did I just
on the
connect?
eve
No, you're still here.
What?
You're good.
of the One-Year War constitutes a nascent revolution of some kind. The implication is that more and more people will be born new types, and these young savants will be the ones to ultimately resolve the conflict between the Dirt Eaters and the Space Noids from the bottom up. Gundams are especially powerful in the hands of new types, and are specialized to serve them as the conflicts go on. The psychics grow in credibility and notability through their distinguished service. Surely, the young will forge a new world order in the ashes of Abo Aku.
This is
But what do we see
Mecha?
a few years post-war in Zeta Gundam? Increasingly worse versions of familiar social superstructures now entirely embodied through a handful of post-human warlords take
Social superstructures. You're going to have to draw me a picture with that one.
What?
I think
That
with
was my...
talking about warlords, he's probably talking about new nation states with a few people at the head, and that's all that is. It's just a fancy word for state.
Yeah.
It's quite literally what Smut said. It's like social superstructures. You have to explain.
Is it just a big hierarchy diagram? It's like, oh, so it's a state. Yeah.
What do you mean?
It's the government. It's like, thanks, we get it. It's the government. It's a new
It's
a
like-
new government. Like, yeah, okay.
It's like when a review says this game feels more tactile than the previous one. I'm like, what do you mean?
Tactile?
I don't get it.
Do you mean the haptic response? Responsiveness?
I mean, it's the same. Like, what do you mean with social superstructures?
That's a state.
There's the president, there's the vice president, there's a secretary of state.
Could be the state. emphasis on the could.
Yeah,
There's a viceroy and a king and an
Chancellor?
emperor and a vice emperor and a...
It's a capitalist suppressing the work.
It's a corporatistic socialisms.
yeah.
The
Commissariat.
mega capitalists suppressing the workers.
Is the EU a social superstructure?
I don't fucking know.
I think it's an anti-social superstructure.
It is.
God, thank God we're not part of it.
That's why shipping
The
costs are so
extra
expensive
shiny
to you.
Gundams. The revolution has failed, or succeeded in producing something far uglier than hoped for. The individualist drive has won out, and instead of new democracy, civilian government has largely vanished. The world is effectively ruled by a handful of the most powerful mecha protagonists and antagonists.
Wait. How's that individual? The world is still ruled. Your anarchy doesn't work. It's just a new feudalism.
Honest to God, I've reached a point where I think I need a translator to understand what the fuck this dude is saying.
It's just word salad now.
Well,
Really just word. He doesn't understand what he's
Now?
talking about.
well, he's at least referring to a
No,
certain.
he's upping the ante.
Well, no, he's referring to a certain Gundam series, which is fine, but he's not like
Okay.
he's not connecting the dots. Like, what is he? What superstructure of what show? Like,
He's
who?
not talking about a mecha, and he's not talking about a male fantasy.
Oh,
Honest
that's
to
true.
God,
Yeah.
this video is for me is kind of the epitome of people who call them video essays. They say a whole lot of nothing with a whole lot of fancy words.
Well, what's he supposed to do with his degree that he paid money for, that his parents paid money for, and that you can't do anything but make a YouTube channel where you babble nonsense?
Thank God I didn't get a degree and just quit uni.
All right.
Shouldn't he?
Can't these
shouldn't
people
he
just
use
write
Samurai
books
7?
like the old sophists?
Well, we got less than. We got almost more than 2 minutes, so we're almost done.
It's 2 minutes time to talk about the male fantasy.
I know.
He also, I'll want to say something.
Shouldn't Samurai 7 be a better example for this whole like feudalism mecha thing, considering that the bandits are all mecha?
Oh,
Cyborg, whatever they are.
I see what you mean. Yeah,
know that?
that's the new version of the Seven Samurai. Yeah. I watched that. I actually like the series. I like the intro. It was really good music.
Oh, yeah, it was really cool.
If we
Samurai-
ever do a bingo again, we should add clickbaiting title or misleading title to the thing.
Sure enough.
It'll be the free pass field in the center.
Yeah, we should have no. The center should always be no. Maybe all the corners should be. Title has nothing to do with whatever he's saying.
All the corners?
All the corners. It's just-
Has he even mentioned the phrase male fantasy yet?
no.
I think in the very beginning.
No. It's irrelevant. If you can't remember what he was talking about the title that he referenced, then it doesn't make a difference.
It's just assumed that the male fantasy has something to do with social superstructure.
Yeah, like he brought up the Red Bear. I'm like, okay, that's a good element of Gundam. He brought up Top Gun. I'm like, okay, yeah, I can see where you're going with that. But that was it. It's like, what does that happen? Do guys want to be a Top Gun ace? Tell me, how does that work? Is it just because you're making associations, not drawing the lines for us? Like, what do you want from us? Like, do the job.
I just realized what anime could have worked completely for all of this. Gurren Lagann.
Yep.
Because you got Kamina, you got Yoko, there you go. You got your man and your woman, you got your mechs and all that. You got the kid growing up into the man and all that. And then you have the fighting in the desert, the rebel fighters and all that. That could have worked completely for this video.
What would this guy make out of Razefon?
Oh, forget it. Don't even go there. You need a music degree to figure. Oh, it's so complicated. The music and the scenes and why are they? What's tuning the world mean? I don't know.
I think he would love it. I think all the video essays would love it if they knew.
Well,
if only they knew.
Yeah, maybe. It's not a bad anime. It's just very.
I kind of want to.
It's just very obscure.
Yeah.
But high quality.
I kind of want to see what what he will do if you got Code Geass.
Well, that's just shonen stuff. It's nothing.
Yeah, it's just Geki Ganga 3.
Yeah,
Like Razafan's really
Geki
weird.
Ganga was awesome.
but it's like
There's lots of other mecha that's like, whoa, that's weird. Like that's just too much. So, but
Big O got kind of.
Big O's good. I like Big O. That's not hard to understand. That's good.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's good to watch. But it's so clean and clear. Like he would be like, oh, it's so rudimentary for children. Oh, okay. So it's a child fantasy to help people. It's like, yeah, it's an adult fantasy too. People do that in life. So.
Some take a lifetime to grow into it.
Yeah. Anyway, we're almost at the 2-minute mark, but we are speeding it up. So it's
that's why the madness is starting. That's why the word salad is increasing.
Oh, yeah.
Who won't violence. For all my complaints about the kind of narrative post-One Year War Universal Century anime has, I think there is an extent to which this was intentional and thoughtful. Though before I give Tomino too much credit, he would have asserted that the reason this all happened is because the rootless cosmopolitan Shylocks like Melanie Hugh Carbine are playing both sides in order to reclaim the Holy Land or something.
Shylock?
Wheeling back around to the original Mobile Suit Gundam and the 1 Year War, I also think the shape of the
Wait. Was he just anti-Semitic or anti-Semitic? I'm confused.
Well,
Let's go with anti-Semitic.
let's not assume that too much here.
With that language? Oh God.
Huh.
conflict,
He's
specifically
helping out
Japanese
both
mentality,
sides,
which
underground
led to the
tunnels.
rise of Gundam. Gundam creators often speak to how Zeon is roughly based on the Axis powers of World War II. When you compare the early events of the 1 Year War with the legend of World War II, you see the outlines of the various roles Gundams fill in the conflict. The Panzer, the Zero, the weapon systems which so upset and horrified the Allied powers. But if we specifically look to the East at large and Japan
Where's
in
the
particular,
topic?
we see a recent legacy of daring light infantry tactics being used.
Like, actually, what?
Why are you pulling up this thing from Kings and Generals? Where are you talking about Mecha? Where's the male fantasy? What the fuck is wrong with you?
Hey,
I honest to God would love if somebody would actually explain to me what the fuck he's talking about.
He made a Merchant of Venice reference. Okay, he's obviously a very smart guy. He read Shakespeare or a Shakespearean play, so maybe he went to one.
Okay. He read a lot of stuff, but he's incapable of forming an argument.
Oh, that's true.
That's what I mean.
And that means he's a pseudo-intellectual.
He's telling us a lot of things, but he's not telling us how what he's telling us relates to anything he's told us before and to the argument of the video.
Well, you
It's a good
see,
example of how to spot a sophist.
boys like maps and
Specific type of
I
boy.
don't know.
And boys also like World War II.
I guess I don't know. History in general, maybe, who knows? Anyway,
Yes, because we remember the Nazis had mechs.
okay.
That's the legend of World War II.
overcome superior Western armies. One assumes that, in the minds of many Japanese people, the pinnacle of their nation's hard power lay with their Ace Zero pilots and fanatically brave assault infantry. It all went downhill after that. So there is something particularly evocative about the way Zaku's seem to phrase a future space war in those same concepts, either elite infantry engagements or aerial duels. Perhaps there's a comfort in imagining that the future will play to one's strengths yet again. In short, mecha have taken and held their position in the pop cultural imagination because they serve as a form of future nostalgia. It allows for the depiction of futuristic conflicts, but spun around the pillars of what we remember the glorious battles of yesteryear to be. In the popular imagination, that often means a cool guy power fantasy of manly warriors.
Wait. How? I want to know how we connect.
I was captivated by the visual. Sorry, I zoned out.
Yeah, how do we connect the past war fascination or romanticization with science fiction mech battles? Going, wow, it's like the Red Baron. It's just like Top Gun. You're like,
Tanya the Evil does not have mecha.
Can I just say, one of my favorite terms ever is the future nostalgia.
Yeah, I'm trying to.
Oh my god, I didn't notice that.
That's what I was trying to say. I was like, what the hell? Like, oh, that nostalgia for something. It's something happened in the past, right? But in the future, so you're like, okay,
What?
so it's this.
There's an actual word for that. There's like an actual smart word for that, and he didn't even use that.
I've gotta be honest, this video reminds me so much of just trying to sound intelligent while being utterly, incredibly stupid.
It would be nice if he actually used the idea he was going with at the start, or at least the title, so that we go, oh, he's being flowery, but he knows what he's on about. So it's like he's researched the topic, and he's just like skating around it. Like, all right, it's fine. But now we're just like, dude, what are you talking about? Like, what is this?
It's just
I honestly have absolutely no clue what he's talking about throughout the entire video. I'm just like, okay, this concept, that concept, this part, what?
Yeah.
But crazy. Look, none of us finished university, therefore we can't understand what he's talking about. I don't know why he's making a YouTube channel for if his audience can't understand him. Stop talking to your fellow pseudo-intellectuals. Talk to the people, the demos. Talk in a language that we plebs can understand, and don't have to assume that you actually don't know what the fuck you're talking about.
You know, when I was still at uni and had introductory courses to writing, etc., the idea always was to write in a way that even the least common denominator would get what you're talking about.
Yep. If you can't explain it to a 5-year-old, you haven't understood it.
Exactly.
Same goes for quantum physics.
All right.
And I have no clue what this video is talking about.
All right, let's rewind it just a bit, just so we can catch this sentence one more time. Here we go.
Remember the glorious battles of yesteryear to be. In the popular imagination, that often means a cool guy power fantasy of manly warriors turning the tides of battles by themselves.
Okay, he's got something there. Let's rewind that one more time, because he's talking about cool guys. Guys are males.
Bit of hero.
Males could be fantasy. Oh, this is words. He's using the right words.
Of yesteryear to be. In the popular imagination, that often means a cool guy power fantasy of manly warriors turning the tides of battles by themselves. But the other side of that coin is that revolutionary Wild West fantasy, the little guys having the chance to shape the future. It's these core tensions which, I would argue, have made Mecha the cultural touch.
These things happen. It's just that you're usually not the one who survives them. But there are people who survive them. That's why we have the stories.
You know, Smud, he was approaching of having a point and immediately lost it again.
You changed the topic, yeah, I know.
Suddenly talking about the Wild West fantasy, and I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about?
Yeah.
Look, he has 6 more seconds.
6, yeah. Who's gonna bet? He has no idea what he's talking about. All right.
Stone today. But yeah, war is bad, robots are rad.
That's it?
I don't know.
How does this relate to male fantasy? Tell me.
Robots are cool. That's his last sentence.
This is the secret of Mario's jump. This is like that video, the secret of Mario's jump, where no one has never talked about the secret of Mario's jump. But with a gay voice.
Let me go to this guy's video and just say, dude, what the fuck are you talking about?
I just love it. He's just like suddenly, for like 10 seconds, he's starting to make a point, immediately to crash it into the crowd and make no sense at all.
All right. There, I
am looking forward to someone making new bingo cards with the new specifications.
I'm gonna be honest. For me, it reminds me so much of all those YouTubers who call themselves video essays. Who make videos, you listen to them, and after 15 minutes, you're like, "What the fuck did you even say?"
Okay, here we got.
Watch Namibia Cam instead.
We got a bunch of wonderful anime memes, of course. to look at, and lots of good anime. Except the bottom right is not so much anime as it is an animation, but fair enough. Here we got Russia's high-tech AI robot turns out to be human in a robot costume. Hello, Kirby from Kirby. Hello, Iris from Mega Man. Wait, no, those
X4.
Yeah, but that's Kirby is on. Oh, they're saying hello to each other. I got it. Okay.
Yes.
And then Kirby's in a mech. And then Iris is in a mech, or is she a mech? I don't know what's going on there.
Neither do I right now.
Yeah,
I have not played that game.
Can't say. Clamps super. Oh, Imaginite Ray Earth. Yeah, I thought that's what Wisp was going to mention because Wisp may have mentioned Ray Earth before, but
I have not mentioned Ray Earth.
you haven't. Which one did you mention before? That was it a few days ago.
I think Gingerman mentioned Magic Knight Ray Earth.
Oh, really? Huh. Snake, the new Metal Gear model was literally just leaked on the War Thunder forums by some guy claiming to be a former Air Force commander.
Just in case anybody doesn't get the meme, it regularly happens that classified military documents are posted on War Thunder forums because they're in arguments about how accurate tanks, planes, etc. are.
There's Clamps Angelic Layer. Okay.
Yeah. It's a cute series. It just gets a bit samey by the end and then looks like it should have a second season, which it never got.
All right. This is, I don't know what that is. That is a bunch of stuff happening on the screen. And how we have more lightning.
Lego.
Okay. Oh, that's a good example of the cockpit. You're just standing around, moving your arms, and the mech follows you. Gunbuster. There's a great hard sci-fi anime.
Do you define as hard sci-fi?
Gunbuster. Well, it deals with time travel, or traveling so fast. Like this girl goes on a mission, and she returns, and everyone's older. She was away for like 10 years, but it's really just light. It's traveling at the speed of light.
You mean
But
it
also
tries to make sense of things, how they really work.
Yeah, exactly.
Now, also, Smud, how you would the difference between sci-fi and hard sci-fi? I was just wondering.
Hard sci-fi has to deal with the details of the science fiction elements, whether it's technology or it could be the social science of the people talking, the government that they're in right now. It's different. And explains why it works, and there's hard limits as to what you can't do. So I always liked the example of because it's such in my brain, it's such a good example of time travel, which is usually done poorly. The time traveler's wife, the time traveler's husband, is a book, and I think they made a movie out of it. I never watched it, but it has a very fatalistic approach to time travel. So everything that's happened will happen exactly the way that it has been told. So even if you go back in time and try and change it, that's because it's supposed to happen that way. So that's a very, very specific approach to time travel, and the way the story, even though the story is not about time travel, it just has that element in it so much, and it's so amazing that this woman wrote this story, which is a drama, with this this secondary element, which is hard sci-fi time travel. You're like, holy shit. And they do a really decent job, or she does a really decent job of making sure no rules are broken, that she wipes her ass, that she doesn't leave any dangling plot threads or stuff like that. So I really appreciate that story for doing that. There's other science fiction stories that do hard sci-fi.
No, I was just asking because I haven't encountered the term specifically hard sci-fi.
Yeah,
so I was curious what you meant.
I mean, I have other examples, but they're usually short stories because they're simpler to read.
Yeah.
But the bigger ones, they're usually like anything with Star Wars is all soft. It's all super soft.
If it's short, it's easier to keep the rules in check and
Exactly.
everything because it's short.
Exactly. I don't know what this is, but this is a really interesting looking tank. It looks like kinetics.
I think this is Thomas the Tank.
Thomas the Tank Engine.
It could be.
I like this much better than a
specs.
train.
Is it kinetics?
No, it's Lego.
It is Lego. I see some
Lego.
Lego parts there, so I was like, But it's got.
Yeah, no, this is completely Lego.
Okay.
I need to know how he made those wheels
Yeah.
for a future project.
Okay.
I think I've seen those parts before.
Oh yeah, they exist. They exist in Lego.
There are Legos with tank parts.
I like this. This is a good one. If two pregnant women fight, it's kind of like two babies having a mecha battle.
Yes.
A little weird, but okay.
Isn't that just what Neon Genesis Evangelion is?
Oh God! Stop!
Oh my, yes.
The characters are completely immature idiots inside their mothers.
So here's Sonic getting punched by. I'm not sure what's going on with Sonic here, but this.
He's supersonicking.
Oh yeah. All right. Whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm just happy that Sonic gets punched.
This is. Oh, this is 00. Yeah, this is 00.
Trans Am.
I think it's Trans Am. Yeah. Cool. No, I really liked a lot of the elements of 00, but it's so it's so streamlined. Like everything's just here's the fanboy group. Here's the hot girl. Here's the rich girl. Here's the princess. Like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
A slight aside. A slight aside. I remember the time I was still a kid playing Zone of the Enders and suddenly realizing, hey, the cockpits are where the cocks should be.
Someone showed me these designs before, and I was laughing my ass off. But the one with the freaking windmill is just like, okay, that's too much.
Cockpit the cock.
The cock.
I showed my parents the Aquila Gundam when I was a kid, and they freaking laughed their heads off. It's like, yeah, Mexico would have a sombrero Gundam.
You're going to send me a machine gun robot girlfriend? Like, what? Yeah.
Yeah, the windmill Gundam is not going to be a fan of Don Quixote.
Armor Hunter Mellow Link. I've never heard of this.
Yeah, that's the anime I was talking about. That it's a guy with the anti-tank rifle just taking on mechs by himself in guerrilla warfare.
Oh, wow.
Cool.
Yeah.
The
Nice.
size of those bullets.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, look at that.
I'm not going to...
That's so cool. What is this?
Which one?
It's with Mario, and he's on a roller coaster.
Roller coaster.
Mario? No.
It's not Mario? What is it?
It's Mario.
Yeah, it's Mario. It's baby
No, it's
Mario.
Mario.
It's me, Mario.
He's not shooting the rocket.
Cool. Oh, this is why does this look so familiar to me?
Shingeru Robo?
I think it's I think it's a mobile game. I can't remember what it's called, but there's all these mechs in it. Gigabit window. There's giant Jorg.
Gorg.
Gorg.
Okay.
Jan de Gorg.
Okay, Team Rocket. Then we have
G Gundam.
This is G
That's
Gundam?
how they pilot. Yeah.
Oh, she
So
just
they pilot it.
connects to lasers. I don't know what's
They
going.
connect to it, but you have to sit in this like latex thing that covers you
Oh yeah,
completely.
interesting.
So yeah, it's a fan service shot.
Cool. That is Robot. What is that? No,
That is King Dedede.
Dedede.
King Dedede.
Yeah, I saw his face. I'm like, oh yeah.
I will never forget
Diegard.
this.
Terrestrial Defense Co. That looks awfully familiar, but then again, anything with a starburst
Is
robot.
that on the left Jesse and on the right James of the crew?
Close.
Oh yeah, now that you mention it.
Who's Meowth?
So many characters. Combat
The one
Mecha
in the middle with the smile.
Zabungle?
And yeah, I want to ask, what the fuck is Zabungle?
This is Gurren Lagann before.
Give me a second.
Gurren Lagann. Cool. Never heard of it. What is this? It's a pamphlet on why I'm bombing you. Oh. The super robot Red Baron. Oh boy.
I kind of want to see that.
It is red.
I don't think this is historically accurate.
It could be ancient Egypt. You never know.
Yeah.
They were Japanese in ancient Egypt. Did you know that? Okay. Oh my God. What's in anime? We have much to discuss. All right, fair enough. Chicks dig giant robots? Maybe.
Some.
Yeah.
Depends on the chick.
Frank's pilots. It's good. Evangelion pilots. Girl the God pilots. Yeah. Gundam pilots. Oh yeah. Time for war crimes.
3 out of 4 are doing something right.
Oh boy. Yeah, no, it's funny. I like it. That is Giant Robo, is it? I don't know. I think it is. It's been a while.
Oh my god.
That
I've
is
seen this before.
Sheesh. I don't know what that is. Someone's doing a Hadoken. I don't know what's going on here.
That's Giant Robo.
That's Giant Robo?
I believe so, yeah.
Why does my brain go, I have no idea what this is? It's Akuma if he was in a mech. All right, fair enough. I miss my wife, Tails. Oh. I miss her a lot. I'll be
He
back.
had a wife?
All right, we got 4. Oh no, it's not that 20. Is that 24-hour photo? What is that called? With Robin Williams. I can't remember. He was a serial killer, I think. But Robin Williams was really into everything. He was into gaming, anime. He was a really cool guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, suicide prevention hotline or whatever. What do you want?
Oh.
Speaking of Robbie Williams, it was one of the fun fact. He offered to do the role of Hagrid in Harry Potter for free,
Oh.
but they rejected him because he was American, and one rule that J.K. Rowling said was that only British actors.
Oh. That would have worked so well because all he had to do was not shave for a month and he'd be perfect.
So they didn't take Robbie Williams, who offered to do it for free.
Yeah, no, he's such a cool guy.
But
The reason to hate Rowling.
I can give her credit for going through with that rule.
I too. Though the rule, they bent the rule a bit because the rule was for speaking roles. So technically speaking, they could have had Robbie Williams do the acting and somebody else do the speaking.
Ah, I see.
Yeah.
I like this because the bottom of this Kirby robot meme is Kirby getting the fucking robot, whereas it's really Kirby swallow the robot, and then he becomes the robot. So, like, why would you get into a robot? You could just swallow it and then become it. It seems more.
The mecha is piloting Kirby.
Yeah.
Oh no.
So this is Sonic smashing into a mech, I guess. I don't know what's going on. Cool looking game though. Funny how Gurren Lagann is one of the only mecha anime not to acknowledge any of this. Let me read that one more time. Funny how Gurren Lagann is one of the only mecha anime to not only acknowledge this, but incorporate the meta idea that the robots have superpowers because they're shaped like humans, because it's all just a masculine power fantasy, into the actual plot and lore of the show. Do you seriously think that's what did you listen to that video and that's what you got? Listening to that guy?
What?
Yeah.
There's no way a human being listened to that movie or video and went, oh yeah, I'm not projecting at all. This is exactly what I heard from this man's mouth.
I think my overall reaction to the video that we just watched was, what?
Yeah.
I have a headache.
Yeah, that's it.
Here's another one. Oh, yeah, I witnessed the same discussion you're talking about at 136 on Twitter. Yes, all fiction is inherently romanticized. Not necessarily. And trying to be 100% realistic is a zero-sum game? How? Why? What do you... How is trying to be realistic a zero-sum game? Because your mind or the mind of the creator of your favorite mecha show can't account for everything that real life entails. What separates the good from the bad, as Tolkien said, is respect for the rules that govern the fiction, making the work seem more realistic. Suspension. That is a whole lot of nonsense.
These people only speak to each other in crazy.
It's like they have half the truth and they just express themselves with crap. It's like, what are you doing? Don't do
Can they
that.
translate for themselves? Can they understand themselves, or are they just guessing?
I think that they're all saying nothing, and they all interpret whatever they want into what everyone is saying, and that's why they agree with each other.
So they're like a Star Trek race.
I have a massive pet peeve with how people use the word romanticize. Because I actually had one of my focus when I was studying was actually the romanticism. I really like romanticism. And I understand the modern use of the term romanticized, but even then, people nowadays use the word romanticized to just mean, oh, it's positive. Which is just wrong.
Yeah, I've heard of, well, I've read actual short stories or by students, what have you, that they wrote romantically, almost poetically, because the way they describe things, but they're just describing prose. So it's not that they're writing poetry. It's just that they, like, your eyes shone like the stars, or there's a smile glints in his teeth, you know, like all these wonderful little descriptions that aren't literally taken, but these are like, you know, a lonely tear falls down your cheek. Like all these silly romantic ways of describing something, which are very unoriginal, but you can write a certain way, which sounds like poetry, even though it's not poetic.
Yeah.
Okay, one more. I just like the mechs because they're cool. I buy Gunpla. I can picture Gundam duels during car drives. They're just cool. I don't think I need to explain it. What's cooler than 3-story high robots shooting it out in a commercial district?
Yeah.
It's good.
Isn't that an anti-capitalist message?
It's, honest to God, this comment is more respectable and accurate than the entire video.
Yes.
Because at least he's saying, hey, it's just fucking cool, isn't it?
Yeah.
Whereas the entire video was like,
World War II had bacteria and shelling. And you're like, oh. Anyway.
how
Which is kind of
romantic.
crying. It's going on right now in Ukraine.
Okay, here's obsessed with this particular trope in mecha anime.
And that's why Jesse and James have a mecha.
Yeah.
Attack on Lightan? Lightan? Instead of Attack on Titan.
I'm not entirely sure.
Who is Light?
It has.
Does anyone know?
Nope.
It's some kind of mech, but I have no idea. There's, you are either lying or you're stupid.
Why not both?
Yeah, those aren't mutually exclusive. You could totally do stupid things and you're lying about them. Xeon did nothing wrong. Okay, yeah.
Now I need to. Who is Sion?
I'm trying to remember the name of the anime, or the Gundam.
Starscream?
No, that's not a Gundam. Starscream is not a Gundam.
Yeah, he's a Transformer.
Yes.
There's too many Gundams, I can't remember.
Did I break out again?
It's fine.
Uh-oh.
Okay.
Let's see what we got here. I don't know shit about Gundam, but I needed a replacement for my Dreadnought. Okay.
That's really cool.
Heresy.
And then we
That's
have,
an invention.
Heresy!
well,
Brother,
here's
Even put a toilet seat on the shoulder pad.
bring me the flamer. The heavy flamer.
this is Wisp. What is that?
That is the
That's
Grey
the
Knight
Grey Knight!
mecha that I was talking about.
Oh
That is
yeah,
a
I was like,
bigger power armor that you power through your power
it's
armor.
an exoskeleton on top of
on your exoskeleton because the Space Marine armor is already an exoskeleton, more or less.
Yeah.
Nobody likes this thing except for memes.
No, I love it
about
because I find it funny.
It is the one thing that keeps me from going into Grey Knights.
I kind of regret not pulling out the Legos.
It will make me want to get into Grey Knights because it's so stupid.
Hello.
Yo.
Hello.
Hello.
We heard you.
All right. Well, that was fun for us. I don't know about you guys watching, but holy hell, what a roundabout way of saying it's cool.
No,
everybody's roboting on me.
Honest to God, I will phrase it differently, Smart. What a roundabout way of saying absolutely nothing.
He kind of got to it at the end there, but it just was like this off
I mean,
sentence.
for half a sentence in the entire video, he got almost to a point just to immediately ruin it again.
If you handed this essay in elementary school, you'd get an F. Because the teacher couldn't tell what the fuck you're talking about. You're just putting random sentences one after the other.
And here is the saddest thing.
You get a PhD for that?
Yeah. You at least get a good grade at uni for that, because it's...
So uni is anti-education, that's what this tells us.
Well, it depends on the course. Depends on the prof.
Yes, I absolutely agree with Smut there. It depends on the prof. I mean, the professor I had for when I had my introduction to scientific writing was extremely strict. And I actually learned proper scientific writing. But then later on, what I found out through people I know and my ex-girlfriend, it became shit. Absolute trash. You could write whatever you wanted as long as you used the right word, and you would just pass.
What year was that?
It's working again.
That was like 5 years ago.
Oh, that's still very young. Very
18,
short
17, something like that around there.
What I miss, I completely like. Everybody started roboting on me.
We went through the memes.
Through all the memes, yeah.
So video's over.
We're about to say goodnight.
Yeah, I think we're good.
Okay.
That was an okay. I mean, I didn't mind it. It wasn't that bad. It didn't take that long. It was way off topic, but most of these videos are. That's just what these people do. So we can't really say is anything special.
That best surface conversation starters.
I guess.
Because there's nothing in there.
Yeah, I'm not the biggest Gundam fan. I know a lot of people who watched all the Gundams. They could talk about all the details and all the politics, which is really cool because there's so much to talk about. But he was just focused on. Well, he wasn't focused at all. He was just all over the place. So it's pretty sad.
Well, all I can say is that he didn't make me any more or less interested in Gundam.
Yeah, it's kind of sad. I wanted to know what was the male connection, because I'm sure there's been lots of studies in child psychology of kids who like stuff, get into male-oriented jobs, or have a fascination to mechanics.
What's happening again?
You know,
something. I saw some great animation and visual storytelling in some of those scenes. I want to go more into Gundam now.
And I just remembered that was in the title of the video.
Good night.
Good night.
All right, guys. We will talk to you soon. Thanks for the suggestion. Keep the voting going, and the suggestions coming in the suggestion channel. And we'll talk to you soon. Have a great night, guys. Bye-bye.
Good night.
Bye-bye.